2 years ago, Sue and I went on our first and only RV caravan with Adventure Caravan. We had no idea on what the experience would be and would never have guessed that we would see and do more real RVing in 31 days than we had done the prior 5 years. When we look back at the things we saw and did, the roads we drove on and the people we met, we knew we had to do it all over again. The 2 caravan tours we have just signed up for and will be discussing in this video are going to be an entirely different style and pace. This is the beauty of the variety of tours offered by Adventure Caravans. We expect the Traverse Michigan and the historic East Coast America tours to be full of surprises, just like the 31-day Circle Western National Park Tour was 2 years ago.
This is what we're waking up to in Monument Valley. Wow. How's this for a campground? Sue and Mark here from Our Journey in Myles. This is Myles back here. And it's May of 2024 right now. And we actually have a couple really big trips planned this summer and fall that we wanted to share with you. And maybe you want to join us. And that's what this video is all about.
So let's go back in time 2 years ago when we went on our first Adventure Caravan tour, and we literally knew nothing about what we were getting into, but we could tell that we wanted to get into something.
And it actually was our first caravan tour, not just with Adventure, our very first caravan tour.
And it was a very spur-of-the-moment thing many times, and we had a lot of false starts where we would decide, hey, let's go on a caravan, because we would be working on our RV Trip Wizard schedule, which, by the way, we really recommend when you're planning. And we would call up the caravan company and we'd go, hey, we can finally fit this in our schedule, and we'd like to sign up for one. And they'd go, well, sorry, we're already full. And that literally happened to us 2 times trying to go on the Grand Circle National Park tour that we did eventually end up going on. But it got to the point where we pretty much could see that, after 7 years of traveling, we weren't able to end up booking it and doing it ourselves because it required too much forward planning. And so when we called up Adventure Caravan on that last iteration, they suggested that maybe we should get on a
the wait list.
Yeah, on a wait list, and maybe that would work. And I'm not a big fan of wait lists because, once I start planning, I want to get it done, I want to complete it, and I want to lock it in place.
Put it in the schedule.
But we took the bait, and we got on it, and I said that I didn't have a whole lot of confidence that we were going to be able to get a last-minute cancellation, because we, in fact, needed 2 cancellations, because we were going to go with our travel buddies, Pat and Paul. Lo and behold, 2 months later, I get a call back from Adventure Caravan, and they not only had 1, but they had 2 cancellations, and they were for us to have and for us to take if we were ready to pop for it. We called up Pat and Paul. They said, let's jump on it, and we did. And I invite you to look at all of the different videos that we ultimately produced for that 31-day Grand Circle National Parks Tour caravan that we went on. We have a playlist entitled Adventure Caravans, and that is the entire list of videos that we ultimately produced. And guess what? We produced those videos for free. That tour was 100% paid for by Sue and I, and it was not compensated. Check out the starting episode on episode 236. It was published in September of 2022. Okay, guess what? We're going to fast forward now to the present. 2 years after we went on those trips and that caravan tour, we're finally able to the point where we're smart enough now that we were booking all of the things that we had committed to, wanted to do, had to do, because remember, there's doctor visits and
family
Sue has to
family
visit
visits,
the family,
yeah.
which seems to be growing, and she has to visit it,
Well, I have two
more and more.
grandkids now. Come on.
Yeah, pretty soon she's going to have so many grandkids to visit that she's going to be gone all the time, and I'm the one that's going to get the visits 2 weeks out of the year. But that's a whole different subject.
I'll make a guest appearance.
So when we started to look at the availability, the different time slots that we had where we could go somewhere, we had to dovetail that in to, and we were looking at doing it with a caravan so that we could just sign up and have everything done. We had to look at where are we going to be on those particular times when we had this availability. And lo and behold, we stumbled upon about, let's say, 5 or 6 different caravan tours that would fill the bill.
Mm-hmm.
And when I called up Adventure Caravans and was more or less looking at what was the availability, I got to talk directly and meet the new owners of Adventure Caravan, Allie and Nick. And I can tell you it was at this point, Sue actually was visiting in Milwaukee. So it was just me on the phone. So I'm the one that has to relate how powerful this was for me. But I was humbled by how much Nick and Allie enjoyed the caravan series that we did for Adventure Caravans. And they're younger folks, they're really tech savvy, they're really with it, and they want to continue to grow and make Adventure Caravans prosper. So it was at this time that they offered to provide to us for no charge a caravan tour of our choice to go to. And so I was real excited, and I called Sue, a couple days later, and I said, "Oh my God, you're not going to believe this, but the 3 or 4 or 5 that we were thinking about, we got to boil down to which one is going to be the real McCoy for us."
That's a hard one.
Yeah. When I finally got back to Allie and Nick on which ones we were looking at, we had it boiled down to 2. Location. Where are we going to be easily during that time period? And that bill was fit by the Traverse, Michigan tour. If Sue is going to visit her family that's in Illinois, I'm going to visit my family that's in Wisconsin.
Right.
But what was the other thing about Michigan that we had going?
We've never done Michigan. We've lived across the lake from them. We've never done it. Never been to Mackinac Island. There's so much to be offered in Michigan. And I'm like, this is a beautiful time of year. It starts mid-June to mid-July. And I thought this is our chance to really take in the big stuff in Michigan.
The Traverse Michigan tour, which we are, by the way, booked on, and it starts on June 17th of 2024, and it ends on July 17th, 2024. And so we are booked on that one. And by the way, the way I understand it, there's still availability on that one.
Yeah, if you want to join us.
What we were doing is we were comparing that one to the one that happens in September 15th. And that one starts in Foxborough, Massachusetts. And what was really tripping our trigger on that one is we don't have a overly giant comfort zone where we're driving. I mean, if you look back at some of the episodes on the one that we did when we went on the Grand Caravan one, and we were traveling on roads that had virtually no traffic, but the roads were real narrow
Took
and they
us
were
out of
two-way.
took us out of our comfort zone big time, which was good.
And it brought tears to Sue's eyes a couple times. But
Tears of fear
yeah, I mean,
sometimes.
what's the worry about a 70-year-old with glasses and
On
hair,
the edge
hair
of a
challenged,
mountain.
driving on the edge of mountains, right? So, but what was doing it for us possibly selecting the 34-day historic East Coast tour was the fact that we would be spoon-fed
Yeah.
the route.
It's the beauty of doing a caravan. No planning. They take you to places they've been to before with plenty of big rigs. They know the roads. They know the campsites.
So let me put you on the spot, Sue.
Oh boy.
You're the one that does all of the route planning and all of the navigating. And we're, and spoiler alert, on any of these tours, we really do rely on the navigating that's done by the Caravan when they give you this book.
Oh, yeah.
And so can you talk about how that has worked out previously
so
for
it
us?
was great. So when you get on this caravan, and we can show something that we've got from the last caravan we were on, they give you a log book, and it gives you step by step, mile by mile, from one spot to the other. So if you need a gas station, a diesel station, whatever, or turnouts for, look at this stuff, it really does break it down in so many miles. You're going to take a left on highway, blah, blah, blah. It makes it so easy. You know exactly where you're going and how close you are to your next turn.
How accurate did you find that?
Oh, it was real accurate. Yeah, I was logging it. So it's like, okay, they say in 6.5 miles we're going to turn, and I'd be watching my Google Maps and Garmin, and it's like, sure enough. They got this nailed. They've got it down.
And so when you'd be on this caravan, the night before, you would talk about the route that you're going to be on, and they would remind you, what time the wagon master is going to leave. Keep in mind that if you've never been on one of these, you don't go tip to tail, where you're all driving like little ride, at Disney World. That's not the way it works. The wagon master will take off a couple hours sometimes ahead of you and will be watching to see if something had changed grossly on the roadway there. They will get to the campground ahead of time. They will smooth everything out. They will make sure that all of the sites are ready.
Yeah.
They will look at the sites that if somebody's got an unusually long rig or something, that they will get that spot. And the ones that are more appropriately sized will, be slotted for
So they did give us heads up if there were accidents or one-lane detour, things like that.
So the historic East Coast tour allure for us would be that we're worried about, we're almost 13 feet. We've so far eluded any body damage on Myles. We love Myles. We're trying to go only in easy to drive, safe places. I'm not getting any younger. We don't drive at night, so we wanted this spoon-fed route. And if there's anywhere you want it spoon-fed to you, is when you go to the East Coast. So I told Sue, I said, if I'm going to man up and do one of these tours, it's going to have to be now. And so we were weighing the difference between these two. You can imagine my surprise when I got back to Allie and Nick. Mm-hmm. And I said, we'll get back to you as soon as we can when we decide which one we're going on. All of a sudden they go, well, why don't you go on both of them? Yeah, and we'll comp you these trips if you produce the same level and volume of videos, honestly, on what actually happens and what folks can expect on a caravan like this with no strings attached. So I can tell you we were humbled, we're grateful, we're excited, and we are going to bring to you the honest experience that we're going to have at both of these tours. The 31-day Traverse Michigan tour starts in Ann Arbor, Michigan on June 17th. So you can see if today is May 2nd,
May 2nd,
you know,
yeah.
we're going to be rocking and rolling pretty soon.
Yeah.
That one ends up in Frankenmuth, Michigan.
Yeah.
Historic East Coast tour is kind of perfect for snowbirders that want to start maybe a little bit early and want to experience the East Coast, but yet get down in the area where you need to be as a snowbirder. That one starts in Foxborough, Massachusetts, September 15th,
Right.
2024, ends up in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, October 20th of 2024. We talked a little bit about in the past on 2 years ago when we were always finding that we were a day late and a dollar short when we would try to plan a tour on that Grand Circle. And granted, that one is way more difficult to plan than, for instance, the Michigan one that we will be going on. But the historic one is probably equally as difficult to plan when you realize that on the East Coast, when you're driving a big rig and you want full hookups because you might stay 4 or 5 days at a particular spot and then shoot in with your car to some of these places or go on a motor coach like this is dependent upon. One of the difficulties of planning is that many of these campgrounds require you to book 1 year in advance. And what happens, Sue, when you call a northern USA campground and you call them in January and you want to try to book something for June?
Yeah, they're usually closed. The campgrounds usually don't open till like May. So if you're trying to get a hold of somebody in the winter, you might not be able to talk to anybody unless you leave a message and cross your fingers that they get back to you. Otherwise, you're still waiting to try to figure out your, plan your trip and fill in all the holes.
Not only do they not open sometimes until May 1st in the north, but they close October 31st.
Yeah.
So you've got a really
early.
giant window where they're incommunicado,
there,
you know. But we typically find that, well, we're doing our trip planning when we have good internet service and when we have the time. And when you're a snowbirder, you have the time in winter when you're sitting down in Florida. So here you are, you're sitting in Florida and you're trying to call these places that are closed. It really doesn't work well. We just recently got this sent to us. This is the prep package that was sent to me by Adventure Caravans. And this does not have the turn-by-turn. This is not the trip planner book. That is, they wait till the last minute to print that so it's as accurate as it can be.
They do give you the itinerary
on
what you're doing on what days. And I'm telling you, Michigan, when I looked at this, I'm like, oh, this is going to be better than I thought. So my big thing is Mackinac Island, never been there, got to go. But, we traveling around, we love to visit presidential museums if we're in the area. Well, they're on our checklist. Well, we're going to hit the Gerald Ford Museum, which is awesome. And we're going to hit some artsy things, feeds my soul. We're going to get the Henry Ford Museum, Greenfield Museum, which feeds your soul. So this really breaks it down on what we're doing day by day. If anybody's interested and it's full, get on the wait list. When we did the...
Keep talking, Sue.
Okay. Oh, it's my show now. So when we were on the Grand Circle out west, there were actually 3 people that just got on that tour a week or 2 weeks before because somebody had canceled. So if you really want to hop on this tour, get on the wait list. And if you're close by where you can easily get there in a week or whatever, get on the wait list. It's worth it.
You're right, Sue, because, let's face it, anybody that's got an RV knows that things happen.
Yeah.
And when you're older and you're retired and you're doing something like this, not only are you older, but your family is bigger. And all of a sudden, things happen.
Yeah.
You can have, unfortunately, funerals or disasters that happen, but you can have fun and happy things, a birth in the family all of a sudden, or a job switch that requires helping your
Right.
family move. So keep in mind that last minute, a lot of those things happen. But I can tell you that the more I worked on this, and the more I looked at all of the places that we were going to
Getting
see,
the
and
permits, yeah.
all of the museums, and all of the different sites, I was getting more and more excited on
Oh,
it.
yeah.
But here's what really has driven home. I had mentioned that we're in Chattanooga, Tennessee right now. And we're here because we've driven by Chattanooga for 7 years. We drive right by it. We drive right by it going home. We drive right by it going to Florida. And
And
finally,
it's beautiful.
Sue.
I said
Yeah.
every time I would say, God, this area looks
Yeah.
beautiful. We need to stop and just take it in at some point.
And she put her foot down,
I
and,
did.
and I listened to my wife.
When her foot goes down.
So
Got that right.
we parked ourselves here for 4 weeks. Now, it was driven home to me here on how difficult it is to hit all the high spots in a matter of 3 or 4 days. The Michigan tour has about 70 organized activities
Yeah.
that are spread out over 8 cities. So you can see the involved nature in which you'd have to be immersed if you're trying to do this yourself. And the 70 organized activities are the ones that they boiled it down to.
I want to put a point out there because they do have a lot of things organized, and some days it might be 2 things, 3 things that we do in one day. But even in the schedule, they will put in free days.
Oh, yeah.
So if you need to take a breather, do some laundry, go to the grocery store, or you want to explore Mackinac City a little bit more than what we did already. So they do put those free days in there, which I think are fantastic. We took a couple free days on our last adventure caravan, and some of them were just downtime. Some of them we got on our e-bikes and rode around.
We talk about the difficulties sometimes of planning in advance. The beauty of having a lot of caravan tours that are available, that depending upon what part of the country you live in and what season you have availability, you have a lot to pick from, and you can do it during the off season when all of these places are closed and you wouldn't been able to plan it. All of a sudden this can become a reality. Now for us, being a snowbirder during winter in Florida, we always have the desire to return to Wisconsin to visit family, friends, and realistically, all of the doctor's visits. When you're figuring out which caravan you want to go on, also include the health of your RV. If there's a trip you want to go on in June or July, and you're coming back from a snowbirding spot in, let's say, Arizona, and you're going to swing by one of the repair facilities or one of the Freightliner or the Spartan centers or wherever you go, and you're going to have Humpty Dumpty all polished up and put back together, it's probably a smart thing to plan your caravan trip right after your rig has got a clean bill of health. It also brings up your health. None of us are going to last forever. And there are times where you go, you know what, I feel pretty good, and whatever your health scare or situation was, maybe you just had a knee replaced last season that slowed you down. And let's say your mobility right now is never been better. Do you have grandkids that are right now, as we speak, in the oven, future grandkids being cooked? Okay? You kind of got to plan their arrival.
Yeah.
Do you have any weddings, for instance, coming up that you got to fly out of the country for?
Not until January.
Yeah. So that's really affected our travel plans. There are areas of the country that have sweet spots that you really can only travel in them realistically when you've got a big rig. This thing in slippery, snowy conditions, unworkable.
We won't do it.
So, for instance, if you were going to travel somewhere in the Yellowstone area and you got something like this, May and June isn't a good choice because you can have some snow issues. And you might be looking at just July, August, and September. So that means everybody in the country that's been planning this trip way further back than you were thinking about it is already got those few spots where your 65-foot long motorhome
that you want
that will fit in. Keep in mind that the only way you can go on stuff like this is if you pull the trigger and actually go, whether you're planning it or whether you go through a caravan. Sue doesn't like this subject. This is the clock is ticking subject. I'm going to soon be 72. Whoa. Sue's going to be sooner than that, 67.
Yeah.
I know she looks like a spring chicken, but I don't. I look more like a cooked chicken.
Stop talking about my husband like that. Good Lord.
If you look at the time that we have left in the horizon of us traveling and experiencing these things, and you can experience different things in spring, summer, and fall. That's 3 seasons. We always experience the same thing in the 4th season in winter. We're either in Florida,
somewhere warm,
or in California or Arizona. But that's kind of the same old, same old. Not complaining.
No.
What we're saying is, if you've got 5 or 6 more years of experiencing these 3 seasons, you've got 15 more travel seasons. When you're going on trips to different cities, if you need tickets for horseback riding, riverboats, dinner cruises, factory tours, rafting, sand dune buggy rides, dinner shows, train rides, museum tickets, these might have 100% availability except the day you're going to be there. Or the day you're going to be there, it's traditionally closed and you didn't check on that. I can't tell you how many times that's happened to us. Since we've never been to Michigan, we don't really know, but we could be traveling on a lot more 2-lane and 2-way roads than we've ever done in the past because we're kind of interstate princesses. This is really, once again, going to be out of our comfort zone.
Yeah, which is good.
Just like it was when we were in
the Grand Circle.
Right.
Yeah, our first caravan.
And I could show on screen one of the more comfortable roads that I loved driving on it because it was a challenge to see if my Jake brake actually worked.
It worked, but...
And Sue?
It put me in a panic.
Yeah. But I could tell you, I would travel that road again in a heartbeat, and if it's up to me, we will.
It's hogback on Highway 12.
Yeah, it was great. The beauty of traveling in a caravan with friends, if you get a double booking or you have 3 friends that want to do this, man, you can't beat it when you're carpooling sometimes to excursions that are close enough to your campground that it is more logical to carpool with some of the people you're traveling with rather than have a tour bus come in and take you. It's really nice to have your friends and buddies, and then after you go to where you're going, you can kind of hang back and say, hey, we're gonna stay in town here and check out some cinnamon rolls.
I'm telling you, on a caravan, you make friends too. We've got our friend Tim will be joining us, and we met him on the caravan. Right. So we've made a long-standing friendship with him. Plus, the variety of people is just fantastic. So
we had mentioned before that we had been given the opportunity to not only go on the Traverse Michigan tour provided for us free of charge by Adventure Caravans, but we're also going to be going on the historic East Coast tour, and that one starts on September 15th through October 20th of 2024.
Mark doesn't have as much information to share on that. Like he's been doing all the planning because for the Michigan one, he called a lot of places to make sure we had permits to record and stuff, and he hasn't gotten onto the East Coast one yet.
That East Coast tour actually, it takes your breath away when you
Yeah.
start to look at all of the different things that you're going to see. If either of those tours you would like to join us on it, I think there's some limited availability.
Yeah.
It's not like the
Yeah.
trip is wide open. I think the last time I talked on them, there was only 3 or 4 slots left. So until we meet you on the road or in a campground someday, we invite you to join us on most Sunday mornings, because we haven't been hitting it every Sunday morning,
Yeah.
for
Lately.
another episode of Our
Our
Journey in Miles.
Miles.
See you then.
See you then.